Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Melanie Cassar, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Stewart Kenny. Following 34 years of distinguished service in the Australian Army, this evening's ceremony marks one of the final duties in uniform for Colonel Kenny, who is retiring from full-time service. Colonel Kenny entered the Australian Defence Force Academy in 1988. He graduated from the Royal Military College Duntroon in 1991 and commissioned into the Royal Regiment of Australian Artillery. Colonel Kenny has served in a variety of regimental appointments throughout his career and assumed command of one field regiment between July 2007 and December 2009, where he prepared force elements from his regiment for operations in Iraq, Afghanistan and East Timor. His staff experience has been at the tactical, operational and strategic levels. His operational service has included deployments to Cambodia in 1997, into Kosovo, whilst on loan to the British Army in 1999 to 2000, and to East Timor in 2001 to 2002. He is also deployed to Afghanistan on 4 occasions for a total of 34 months. Colonel Kenny is currently posted as the Director, Theatre Assessments, J83, at Headquarter Joint Operations Command, Australia. Sir, we thank you for your service and wish you well for your future endeavours. Today, we mark the anniversary of the August offensive on Gallipoli. After months of stalemate, Australian, New Zealand, British and Indian troops attempted to break the deadlock on the peninsula by launching a series of assaults against Turkish strongpoints. The battles that followed were the largest and most costly of the Gallipoli campaign. They ended in heartbreaking failure and produced heavy losses on both sides. Many sites of the bloody struggle, Lone Pine, the Neck, Chinook Blair and Hill 60, became familiar names in Australia and New Zealand. Today, we commemorate the Battle of Lone Pine, which cost the Australians over 2,200 casualties and more than 800 killed. This evening, we warmly welcome Major General Paul Kenny, Commander, Joint Task Force 629, and Mr John King, President of the Returned and Services League of Australia, ACT branch. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. Australia's Federation Guard is the tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catafalque party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature, gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. Enjoy home strange, then let us sing. Advance Australia fair.
Catapult party, shoulder up. Catapult party, order up.
If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the roll of honour, which lists of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, flowers of the forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Captain Stewart Milson. Stewart Milson was born on the 22nd of June 1887 in Down, Queensland. Known as Sammy, he was one of 3 children born to businessman Arthur Milson and his wife Eustacia. The Milson family later moved to Sydney, where Stewart received his education at the King's School in Parramatta and was an active member of the school cadets. On completion of his education, he gained employment with the wool brokers and merchants, Messrs Dalgety and Co. He also joined the New South Wales Scottish Rifles, rising to the rank of captain, and became the Vice Commodore of the Royal Sydney Yachting Club. He later moved to the country, becoming a station manager on a large property near the town of Hay. When war broke out in 1914, Stewart Milson was among the first men to enlist, joining the Australian Imperial Force on the 27th of August. He was assigned to E Company of the 4th Battalion and proceeded to camp for training. He was commissioned as a captain in late September and embarked for active service from Sydney on the 20th of October, sailing on board the troop ship Euripides. Captain Milson and his comrades arrived in Egypt in early December and commenced further training in the new year with preparations to land at the Gallipoli Peninsula and in earnest. Milson wrote to his mother from camp saying, "Last week we marched away about 10 miles up the Nile with everything packed as if we were going away. We had a pretty strenuous time, I can tell you. We finished up doing a night march and attacking a hill at about 6 a.m. I slept for 15 hours straight after." 2 months later, his unit formed part of the 2nd and 3rd waves, which landed on the shores of Gallipoli on the 25th of April 1915. After spending a day on the beaches of Anzac Cove, Captain Milson was wounded in the shoulder by enemy fire. He was returned to Alexandria, spending a month in hospital before returning to duty on the 26th of May 1915. He spent the months which followed establishing the front line with his unit and repulsing regular raids from the enemy. By this stage of the war, a stalemate had developed, with the Allies maintaining a light grip of their positions. In August 1915, plans for a major offensive to break the stalemate were put in action. Milson's division was set to attack the Turkish position at Lone Pine in order to divert enemy troops away from the attack near Hill 971. By 4:30 on the 6th of August, Milson and his comrades in the 4th Battalion jumped the parapet and charged towards the Turkish trenches. On reaching their enemy, they were confronted with a well-defended trenches which had been covered with pine logs. Forced to break through the logs or continue to the communication trenches, advancing troops were drawn into hand-to-hand combat. 4 days of brutal fighting ensued as the Australians fought to hold their position and as the Turkish troops fought to push them back. By the time the ill-fated battle was abandoned, Australian casualties numbered over 2,200 killed, missing or wounded. Among the dead was Captain Stewart Milson, who had been fatally shot while leading his men near Owens Gully. Charles Bean, Australia's official historian of the First World War, later stated that Milson was one of the most gallant and admired leaders in the battalion. Stewart Milson was 28 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Captain Stewart Milson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Catapult Party, present!
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Catapult Party, inwards! 10! Catapult Party, quick! March!
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, Well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.